Hello my dear jewelry lovers, today I will tell you a fascinating story about the jewelry of the anti-hero of the British monarchy, namely about the royal scale and the most luxurious jewelry of Wallis Simpson. Her jewelry was often mistaken by the public for simple costume jewelry. It was impossible to believe that someone could afford such huge stones. Edward VIII spared nothing for his beloved, literally showering her with jewelry. We show the most impressive pieces from the collection of Wallis Simpson, who was the envy of all London society. The incredible love story of Wallis Simpson and Edward VIII has remained one of the most famous royal romances in history for 100 years. The king abdicated after 10 months of his reign to be with his beloved, a twice-divorced American woman. However, in parallel she had another equally high-profile affair with jewelry. Edward shared this passion, showering his beloved with striking jewels and rare stones, and even designed unique ornaments together with the largest jewelry houses. He wanted all the jewelry to be destroyed after Wallis' death, not wanting another woman to wear any of their memorabilia. Wallis's jewelry had always excited the public and provoked envy. The reputation of the woman who stole the king from Great Britain was rather dubious, and at the time Wallis was extremely unpopular with the British. During the Second World War, Simpson was criticized for her overly extravagant style and love of luxury. Meanwhile, Edward and his lover only stoked waves of resentment and amassed an impressive collection of jewelry worth millions. Soon after the Prince of Wales met Mrs. Simpson in 1931, her jewelry became an endless cause for gossip and small talk in London. When she appeared in the royal box at the opera with shimmering emeralds and diamonds, many speculated that Mrs. Simpson was probably wearing her dressmaker's jewels. It was impossible to imagine that anyone could afford stones of that size. But those stones, which the public took for ordinary pieces of glass, in fact turned out to be genuine emeralds and diamonds encrusted in luxurious jewelry from the most famous jewelers in Europe: Jean Toussaint from Cartier, René Simlicasa from Van Cleef & Arpels, Neve Don Cumrovian from Harry Winston. The mismatched king prided himself on adorning his beloved Simpson with impressive jewelry and ignored the British outrage, continuing to present her with jewelry on and off occasions. He had impeccable style, and for the rest of his life he loved discussing and designing jewelry with the Duchess, recalled Mary Elaine Griffith Dexter, Countess of Romanwans. Edward loved scouting out rare stones and then working with jewelers to create true works of art with unique designs. The Duke would spend hours in our shop on Place Vendôme, watching every process, said Ferdinand Ripoll of Van Cleef & Arpels. The results of the collaboration were stunning. A sparkling necklace made by Cartier in 1960 features 5 pear-shaped emeralds weighing between 5.8 and 14.6 carats, surrounded by diamonds. The Duchess often added a 48.95-carat emerald and diamond pendant to the necklace, which once belonged to King Alfonso XIII of Spain. The pendant is estimated to be worth between $260,000 and $320,000. Where did the Duke of Windsor get such huge emeralds? For years, this fact has been the subject of gossip. The Duke is rumored to have used the famous emeralds that once belonged to Queen Alexandra, wife of King Edward VII and grandmother of the Duke, and were considered the property of the royal family. According to Susie Menkes, author of The Royal Jewels, Queen Alexandra left the emeralds to her daughter Princess Victoria, who sold them to Gerard, and they were later commandeered by Cartier in Paris, where they were sold to the king. However, Nicholas Rayner, chairman of Sotheby's in Geneva, disputes this version. "I don't believe Alexandra's emeralds ever existed," he said. "We have found no evidence of that. I believe the story was malicious gossip invented by people who were unhappy with their marriage. They wanted to believe that the Duchess had taken for herself jewelry that belonged to the crown." All of this impressive jewelry also had special personal connotations for Edward and Wallis. The 1936 Van Cleef & Arpels ruby and diamond bracelet, for example, had a hold-tight inscription on the clasp, stylized in Edward's handwriting. The jewelry is dated March of that year. In October, Wallis would divorce her second husband, and in December Edward would abdicate for love, making this bracelet not only one of the most luxurious pieces of jewelry, but also a unique piece that references the couple's love story. One of Wallis' most recognizable pieces of jewelry was a diamond brooch in the shape of a flamingo with feathers made of rubies, sapphires, and emeralds. Edward purchased it for his beloved in 1940. A similar colorful bracelet with 9 crosses made up of emeralds, rubies, and sapphires was given to Wallis on their wedding day in 1937. Sapphires were the Duchess's favorite gemstones. She believed they accentuated the color of her eyes. Many rooms in her house were blue, including the bedroom, recalled Countess Roman ones. According to her, the Duchess insisted that all the sleeves of her dresses and blouses be shortened and not cover her luxurious bracelets. Most of the most famous pieces, which attracted so much attention throughout her life, she wore mainly in the evening. During the day, her style was much simpler and she was never hung upside down with jewelry. Like all women who have truly impressive collections of things, she was actually terribly modest, Diana told Vreeland. During the day, the Duchess favored bracelets, pearls, and brooches. She had several large rings, including her iconic emerald engagement ring and the famous Golconda diamond, a 31-carat stone also known as the McLean diamond. It once belonged to Mrs. Evelyn Walsh McLean, who also owned the infamous Cursed Hope diamond. The design of her Cartier engagement ring was also unique. A magnificent 19.77-carat emerald surrounded by diamonds and engraved on the inside of the jewel was, "We are ours now 27 by 36. The 27th of October, 1936 is a special date for the couple. This day marked the beginning of Wallis and Ernest Simpson's divorce proceedings and the start of her new life. Although most of these jewels are too unusual to be copied, some of the Duke's ideas were adopted by jewelry brands. For example, Wallis' love of combining semi-precious and precious stones in one piece of jewelry, which was extremely innovative for the time and influenced the fashion of the 40s. Another passion of the Duchess, which she made a trend of the time, was panther jewelry. Her collection included a stunning Cartier onyx diamond panther bracelet created in 1951 by Jean Toussaint and Peter Lemarchand. Before Wallis and Toussaint, images of panthers and other cats had never been as popular as these iconic style icons made them. Wallis's love of such jewelry spawned a new trend that remains in vogue to this day. Cartier panthers are still just as valuable and are still one of the key symbols of the jewelry house. Experts call the Duchess of Windsor's collection the most important jewelry collection created in the 20th century. After Wallis's death, many jewelry pieces were sold. Luxury jewels were first exhibited at the Sotheby's auction in 1987, a year after the Duchess of Windsor's death. The auction, held in Geneva, caused a huge wave of interest. As a result, the impressive jewelry fetched $50 million, which set a new world record as the most expensive jewelry collection sold by a single owner. Although the Duke of Windsor himself did not want the jewelry to be worn by anyone other than his beloved, the jewels will forever be associated with Wallis and symbolize the happy love story of the failed king and the woman who stole his heart, expressed in diamonds, rubies, and emeralds. Write in the comments whether she was worthy of wearing this jewelry.